Oh, yeah. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and oh, baby, do we have an interesting show for you today. It is Monday, February 17th. This is the Monday after the first opening weekend for Captain America, Brave New World. And we got to talk about it. How did it do? What's the audience reception? A lot of the stuff we talked about on Friday, we weren't sure. We weren't clear on how that was going to shake out. What were the final numbers going to be? What was the CinemaScore? At the time on Friday, we didn't even know what the CinemaScore was. Guess what? It's not good. So we'll talk about it. I want to break it down. I've got a lot to say, man. I got like 3-4 pages of notes here. I want to yap for a good bit about Captain America Brave New World, what I see in the tea leaves, what do I see in the numbers, how do I think Marvel should respond, what's the future for Mackie. Lot to discuss, lot to get into today. We'll save time a little bit for some other crazy rumors that are out there. There's some stuff about Daredevil Season 2. There's some stuff about Secret Wars. There is some stuff out there, but I got to be honest, I think for the most part today, we are going to focus on Captain America Brave New World, okay? Biggest, well, I don't know if I should say the biggest, but it's the most recent Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and it just had its opening weekend, so we're going to break all of that down. Today might be maybe one of the last days that we fully dedicate to Captain America Brave New World. A lot of interesting stuff coming, like, Daredevil Born Again, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll probably be moving into some other stuff pretty quickly. But today, and for today, we're going to be talking about Captain America Brave New World. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a pretty good one myself. Nice and relaxing, chilling, hanging out, man. Getting some Marvel Rivals going on. Saturday, I had a situation, and I wonder if you've ever had this situation too. But I got a little session in the afternoon with Marvel Rivals. I was playing with a buddy of mine, and we were killing it, man. We were killing it. We must have went like 5-7 or 5-2, 5 out of 7 games. We were winning, and they were close games. Even the losses were close. I was feeling so good. We get on a couple of hours later, after like the kids are to bed and everything like that. Bro, it was terrible. It was like the exact opposite. Horrible. Getting absolutely shit on. So I don't know. That part kind of sucked. But it was still fun to kick it, get a little video gaming in and just kind of hang out. So I hope you guys had a good weekend as well. A lot of you probably went out and saw Captain America at some point. I was watching on the Discord. There were people that were even going in to see it yesterday. So a lot of people checked it out on Sunday. Now, as far as show notes and what can we expect this week, the only thing really going on is we're going to have a Nerdventure stream this Wednesday. And, it's one of those streams where we could just kind of kick it. We're not really ready for the deep dive yet. I kind of think I want to deep dive on Sentry with the Thunderbolts trailer coming and with Thunderbolts on the way. I think it would be worth it to kind of deep dive on Sentry. We could technically begin that this week, or we could do another stream where we just play Marvel Rivals together. That seems to be kind of popular right now amongst the community. So maybe we'll do that. Let me know what you're thinking. Other than that, man, we should be getting a lot of news this week, probably a lot of scoops. A lot of things revealed, so we'll take all the nerdy news as it comes. And I want to say, I see you in chat. What is up, Twitch? What is up, YouTube? Appreciate you. We will get into Q&A later on in the stream. And just like Friday, I think that it's going to be a really good Q&A. I know there are a lot of opinions. I know people feel differently about Captain America, about Marvel, about Hollywood, all sorts of opinions. And so I'm looking forward to hopefully some really good questions, some really good feedback, and a lot of fun interaction with you guys later on in the stream. So with that said, let's just get into it, man. We got a lot to say, so we might as well get started. Captain America Brave New World just had its first official opening weekend, which technically went from Thursday to Monday. They obviously include the Thursdays in the Friday preview, but today is President's Day, I believe, pretty sure. And so they've extended it all the way till Monday, And so with that in mind, the official numbers for Captain America Brave New World's weekend are that it opens to 100 million domestically and 192.4 worldwide. Okay? So we got to dig into these numbers just a little bit more. But I will say, just when you hear that number, close to 200 million worldwide for an opening weekend, it sounds pretty good. So I wonder what you think about that in chat. You know, I've seen a lot of different people on social media. Social media is such a fascinating grouping of individuals. You know, there are some people that are like, hey, that it made its whole budget back. This is actually great. I hope people understand that Marvel fans want more Sam Wilson as Captain America. And then other people are pointing out all the holes in the numbers and saying that it's actually not a good situation. So let's get into it. What do I think? Well, interestingly enough, if you look at the actual article put out in the Hollywood Trades, you will find a lot of interesting things. Okay, so first of all, the title says, Captain America box office Brave New World opens to a bullish 100 million in the U.S., 192 globally. That's pretty positive right off the bat, right? Bullish, right? That's like crypto language and whatnot, so pretty positive. The subtitle, though, says, the superhero pick landed ahead of expectations despite receiving a B- CinemaScore, the worst grade bestowed on any title in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Put a pin in that. We will come back to that because, yeah, for sure, that's important. That's important to talk about. Okay. Captain America Brave New World is looking presidential after all, as Marvel Studios attempts to reboot the franchise with an entirely new cast. This year's first tentpole is reporting a 4-day domestic opening of $100 million over the long Valentine's Day/President's Day weekend, including 88.4 for the 3 days. And the numbers should shift again on Sunday, but either way, it's coming in ahead of expectations. Okay, so let's just start there. This is technically coming in ahead of expectations, even on the 3-day. I think we saw numbers as low as 80, maybe even 79, and we saw numbers as high as like 115, 110, 105. So this beats the low end of those expectations, and it's pretty much like a 90 million, which I think is good overall for the 3-day. And then I guess it just kind of depends on how you're going to think of it. Like, you're going to give them the 4-day? I mean, I guess it technically is a holiday. And so, sure, I could see that. And if you give them the 4-day, 100 million, yeah, that's good. It looks good. Getting to the century mark looks good. Getting very close to 200 million, I think looks good. 92.4 million internationally. But I do have to say that it's weird that I believe it was actually Deadline's article. Maybe they also talk about it here as well. But I know in Deadline's article, they discuss a number that's $425 million. Okay? And the reason that number is being brought up is because the reported budget, which even in the Hollywood Reporter, they talk about the budget. The reported budget is $180 million. That's what's being reported. By the way, real quick chat, do you believe that? Yes or no? Just put it into the chat. I'll take a peek over at chat as I continue to talk about the news. But just straight up, man. And maybe if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're just in your car or something, just whisper it out loud. Do you believe that? Yes or no? Budget of $180 million. So if we believe it, and I think, technically we kind of have to, Disney saying it publicly, that's their, that's their statement officially of what it is. Then at 425 million worldwide, the movie breaks even. Okay? And in the Deadline article, they make mention of the fact that the movie only needs to get to 425 million total to break even. And I can kind of feel, just because I've been doing this for a while, right? And I can kind of see how the Hollywood machine works and, how they couch things and how they signal things, etc. Kind of seems like all the trades are saying, yeah, this is good, and if it just gets to 425 million, they break even, no loss, and that sort of secures maybe a better future for Sam Wilson, for Anthony Mackie as Captain America, right? So that's what I feel is happening within the numbers. But here's the thing. Regardless of all of that, and regardless of reading the tea leaves and, checking out the signaling, I think this is a good opening. I think there's pretty much no way around it. You have to say, this is a good opening. And as long as it doesn't completely collapse, from here, I think they're going to be fine. That's the way I would describe it. As long as it doesn't completely collapse from here, I think they're going to be fine. However, and unfortunately, I think it might completely collapse. You know, we don't know for sure. And the second weekend is going to really, really show us what is going on with this movie, what's going on with the public, how are people feeling about this movie, what's the actual word of mouth look like. And this takes us back to the thing we put a pin in earlier, and this would be the CinemaScore. Okay? So, lowest CinemaScore in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Lower than a lot of DCEU movies, getting into the territory of the Sony movies. That's the CinemaScore. Now, let me kind of explain what the CinemaScore is, and let me explain why it's such an industry standard. Maybe a lot of you know this, but CinemaScore is polling. It is spot polling that is done around the United States on the opening night of the movie, so Friday night. And it is done with a bunch of actual human beings, and it's all done on paper, so it can't be gamed, it can't be cheated. It's a really good survey that gives really good information to Hollywood and to us, the public, about how fans are feeling about the movie, okay? And as we've said before, right, you might be surprised to find that a B- is the lowest score in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you might be surprised that a B- is a really, really concerning score, but it is. And I think part of the reason is because people that go spend money on a movie are more often than not very likely to be more positive on the movie. Okay? So if you can get people that just paid hard-earned money to give you an aggregate or an average score of a B-, almost dipping into the C's, that should just really show you how divided audiences are on this. And here's like the objective truth about what that score means. This movie on opening night, Brave New World, it disappointed many more Marvel fans than any other Marvel movie had in the history of the franchise. That is objectively true. That's what that means. That's what the CinemaScore means. It means more than Quantumania, more than Thor the Dark World, more than Age of Ultron, more than Love and Thunder, more than Eternals, more than any other Marvel movie under the MCU banner that has ever come before. This movie on opening night left more fans, more people that went to see the movie opening night, disappointed than any other Marvel movie before it. And unfortunately, the CinemaScore is used to forecast how well a movie will perform going into week 2 and going into week 3, etc. It's not like a rule of law. It is not like an absolute certainty that if it's really low, it means there won't be legs for the film. But it's a very bad data point. So, as I said, when you look at this opening box office for Captain America, decent. Seriously, decent. And as long as it doesn't completely collapse, I think the movie will be fine. Meaning it'll break even, it'll make profit, maybe get to $500 or $600 million, maybe get to $7 million in a dream scenario, right? But the unfortunate data point here, the sort of really weird elephant in the room, is that CinemaScore. Okay? And we will have to wait and see what that translates to in weekend 2. If it's a really steep decline, because here's the thing that's crazy about Quantumania. Quantumania opened higher than this movie, and it fell like 77% or something into weekend 2. Guys, that movie didn't even make it to 500 million worldwide, right? Like Quantumania. And that's insane considering what it opened at, okay? And so what happened with Quantumania was, even though it almost gets, I think it's like 460 or something like that, it gets close enough to 5 that you're like, those are like Venom 3 numbers, and Sony was pleasantly surprised with like Venom 3, et cetera, et cetera. The reason it was so catastrophic for Marvel was because it opened so much higher. They sold it as like an Avengers villain entry point thing, and it collapsed so spectacularly that like it doesn't even get to 500 million. So if that happens for Brave New World, this movie might not even get to 400 million. Like, is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, if it takes the same trajectory that Quantumania did, then unfortunately it is very possible this movie doesn't even get a 4 in front of it. And that would be really, really bad. Now, I think if you go back to the trades and we go back to that number of 425, you can kind of see the game being played here, where they've basically just made it that instead of needing 5, 6, or 7 to be considered respectable, Marvel and the trades are already projecting what would be the number. And so now everybody's like, yo, we just need to get to 425, which is weird. It feels like we're moving the goalpost a little bit there. But credit where credit is due. If they do that, they will be able to have headlines that say it didn't lose money, et cetera, et cetera. And I suppose that's good. That's good in the currency. So that's kind of the status of it. We'll have to see what happens in weekend 2. But let's talk about this CinemaScore, man, because this is truly wild. I mean, this is just very, very wild. A lot of people, and I'm sure there's many of you in the chat that are in this camp, a lot of people believe that there is no way that this movie deserves to be the lowest CinemaScore in the history of the MCU. A lot of people. In fact, if you are one of those people and you think this is completely unfair and that there is no way that this movie deserves to have the lowest CinemaScore in the entire catalog, put a 1 into the chat. I'm curious. Here's the thing, though. It does, and that is terrible. So what happened, right? Like, how do we make sense of this? How do we square this circle, right? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of things that I think are going on. I actually believe a part of the puzzle here is the marketing, and particularly the marketing around Red Hulk himself, okay? We talked about this on Friday a bit, okay? A lot of ones in the chat, by the way. If you're listening on the podcast, a lot of ones in the chat. A lot of our fans, which makes sense. You know, it's a big Marvel community over here. A lot of people feel this score is unfair. Like I'm telling you, a lot of people. You should go check it out. See the ones. It's crazy. Here's the deal. I think when we spoke on Friday about how much of the marketing was dedicated to the Red Hulk versus how much the Red Hulk is actually in the movie, I unfortunately think that's a big missing piece of this puzzle. It's something that a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about, because if you're looking for the answer to the question of how does this movie receive the lowest CinemaScore if it is in fact not the worst movie, well, the answer is that there's something about the movie, or perhaps the promise of the movie, that disappointed fans disproportionately compared to some of these other films. The only real explanation I have here is the Red Hulk. I mean, look, I'm speaking to somebody that really didn't like the movie. I'm trying to be fair here because I know a lot of y'all did. And, we're all Marvel fans here, so we're trying to be optimistic. I really didn't like this movie. I still don't know that it actually deserves the lowest CinemaScore of the entire MCU. And I probably would have given it that score just because I really don't like it, okay? So I think the Red Hulk is a piece of that. But really what we're talking about is the marketing. So weird that Marvel decided to market really upfront with Red Hulk. And I mean, make him a massive part of the marketing, okay? Normally, we would see Marvel kind of hide that, kind of tease it or whatever. And you can just look to Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts for the way this is usually done. I mean, how much of Galactus do you think you're going to full-ass see before that movie rolls? I mean, maybe by the end you'll see a good bit of him. But he's being saved. He's being kind of teased. He's being kept mostly for the movie. Same thing with Sentry. We're getting a little bit here and there, but most of the Sentry stuff's going to be kept in the film. For whatever reason, Marvel decided that they needed to heavily lean on the Red Hulk being in this film for the marketing, perhaps just because of some of the internal testing or, whatever. But they did that. And I can't help but think that that is a part of this problem, that the marketing for Red Hulk, the crazy amount of marketing for Red Hulk, and then the very small amount of Red Hulk that's actually in the film, I think that has something to do with the CinemaScore. I also think that if we're just being honest, the environment has completely flipped with Marvel to the point where fans are ready to be mad and to shit on it, right? It's kind of a vibe. It's kind of a thing we've been talking about for a while. I think this movie and the CinemaScore really brings it into crystal clear, high definition. We can see it for exactly what it is. The vibe has changed. It used to be that we were all really looking forward to Marvel movies, and the occasional one that didn't hit the same way wasn't a big deal. And I've seen a lot of people on social media over the past 3 to 4 days, bringing the fact up that, Marvel used to have a lot of mid and it was fine. There are worse movies and it was fine. And you see, a lot of energy coming from fans that's trying to discredit or, reverse engineer or break down this new level of hate and anger. And they're trying to delegitimize it. I see a lot of people trying to delegitimize the frustration that's out there within the fan base and say that it's all overblown or it has to do with this, that, second, and the third. And I think the uncomfortable truth is that the vibe has changed, and people that aren't in it in the way that a lot of us are, because again, if you're listening to this pod or, you're here in the live chat with me, you're a big nerd, dude. You've probably seen 20, 30 of these movies at this point, and you love this shit. You've been doing it for a long time. You're primed and ready to go check this out, and you're going to go easy on it. But I think when we really think about the normies and just casual people, and even people that are maybe nerdy but not super big Marvel fans, I think the vibe has just completely changed to the point where now fans are actually expecting bad. And when it happens, they get really toxic and really negative about it. So why does this movie have the lowest cinema score out of any in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Or I guess if you were to ask that question a different way, it would be why do some of the movies that are worse than this movie have a higher cinema score than this one? And the answer to that is that the vibe was different. The context was different. Fans were going easier on shit. Fans were having a better time. I think back to Phase 4 because, I went through that and, went through it with my community and everything like that. And coming out of Infinity War and Endgame, it was man, Marvel couldn't miss. We had made so many new fans, such an exciting future. And then to watch the fumbling of Phase 4 in real time was crazy. And one of the things that happened was my own community, people that have been riding with me for years, were getting upset with me because I was very critical of WandaVision's ending, because I was very critical of Falcon and Winter Soldier, because I was critical of Eternals, because I was critical of Shang-Chi, because I was critical, basically, a lot of people within my own community, they weren't just going easy on these projects. They were actually having such a good time still kind of basking in the glory of Endgame, Infinity War, and entering into the fandom, that they were actually really mad that I would criticize or say that I started to see blemishes, cracks in the armor, etc., right? Well, now, years later, that's just evaporated. There's still some of that energy left, and some people are just still, having such a good time with Marvel that they're whatever about it. But I think, by and large, that conversation has changed, and I think even the most stout Marvel defenders are still ready and willing, more so than ever, to get mad, to be disappointed, and then to be kind of toxic about it. I think that's what it is. And I think Marvel needs to realize that this is not going to change. It is legitimately not going to get better. And when I say it, I want to get very specific here. I'm talking about where fans are at. And unfortunately, the next 3 years are really, really important to Marvel overall and how their fan base is going to respond. And I would venture to say, I'm going to make a prediction right now. I think the next 3 years, you will see the fan base and critics be as on edge and ready to hate as ever. Maybe even more so than what they just did to Brave New World. And Marvel just has to realize that that's what it is. And they have to face that. And basically, they just got to kill it over and over again to get the fan base away from where it's currently at, where I think it's really inverted from what it was during the Infinity Saga. But that's what I think is going on with that CinemaScore. And it's also important to obviously speak to Deadpool Wolverine, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, some of the W's that Marvel has had during this whole time period here. Because what that shows is it's not like fans cannot have fun, cannot engage, and like are completely out of it. We have seen within the past 3 to 4 years examples of the fan base galvanizing around certain Marvel projects and certain Marvel projects becoming incredibly successful. I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine, I think, was the second biggest movie of the year last year. It's an R-rated Deadpool movie. You know what I mean? So it's not so bad as to say that like they've lost it. We're not in Star Wars territory yet. But Marvel needs to realize and accept that like the vibe has changed, and now fans are essentially going into their movies like this. Arms crossed, ready to hate, ready to be aggressive, ready to be disappointed, and maybe even reluctant to cheer and get excited. But you have examples of how you can do it. So it's really tricky, man. Another thing I wanted to talk about, because we're going to have to talk about the future for Sam Wilson as Cap. And again, I want to put a caveat here because we do not know how the second weekend box office will go. I think Marvel should be really worried. I think Disney should be really worried. But we don't know. You know, the CinemaScore could translate into a steep decline, crazy drop-off, and that would be disastrous. But you could also see it have legs. There's not a ton of competition, really. So Cap could be fine. But given with where we're at right now, we are going to have an uncomfortable conversation about Sam Wilson as Captain America, because I think there's evidence that it's not really working. But before we get into that conversation about Sam Wilson, can we admit how unlucky Marvel has gotten surrounding Sam Wilson as Captain America? I just want to remind you of a couple of different things here, okay? When Marvel was creating Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the LLC that they shot that thing under was called Pandemic Productions. And the entire Falcon and the Winter Soldier show was ripped apart and remade because it had a planned plotline of an airborne virus that caused a pandemic that was being scattered around the globe. A lot of people don't know that, actually. It's weird because Marvel's tried to cover their tracks on it, which is so weird because it's like you have nothing to be embarrassed by. You just picked something and then got unlucky because some shit happened in the world and then you wanted to change it. Totally cool. Totally understandable. Joanna Robinson's book goes into this in detail. So it's out there. Journalists have touched on it, but Marvel doesn't really talk about it. But the bottom line is, like, think about that shit. They got so fucking unlucky with that dude. Are you kidding me? Like, they had to remake that whole show, and it's way worse, dude. They ripped a bunch of stuff out of there. It doesn't work. It's just all goobly glob. There's some good stuff in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but by and large, that show sucks ass. And it's kind of not anybody's fault. Now think about Brave New World. And although we don't know for sure, it kind of feels like they put some Trump shit in there. You know, at one time, it feels like this movie was going to be a critique of Trump or be more connected to real life, real world events. And at the time when they were making it, which is like 3 years ago when they first started Principle, that might have made sense. The cultural winds might have been in their sails, but then shit changed. And it's pretty obvious that they stripped a bunch of that political stuff and a lot of that Trump stuff from the movie. So it's like both times they have gotten incredibly unlucky. One, by building up the pandemic as a part of their show, and then an actual pandemic happened, and they were like, oh my God. Then they wanted to make a political critique of, I think, Trump, and then ultimately cultural winds shift, and they remove all of that stuff, and it ends up feeling really whimsical, flimsy, and soulless. So they have gotten, like, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna go hard on them because I think they've made some pretty silly decisions, but I also think it's worth pointing out that they are getting so unlucky with Sam as Cap. Like, borderline, they could be cursed with trying to make this happen. Like, do you appreciate what I'm saying here? Like, that is pretty wild. Like, we gotta admit, just take a step back and be like, yeah, that is pretty fucking tough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is pretty wild. And so I just wanted to say that. I don't see a lot of people bringing that up, but I think it's fair to say, man, they got really unlucky. And frankly, Marvel's gotten pretty unlucky over the past 3 to 4 years as well. I mean, you play the hand that you're dealt, so it is what it is. But I just kind of wanted to say that. And all of the conversation we're about to have about Sam needs to be put into context. We need to see what Weekend 2 is looking like before we make any harsh calls, okay? Now, having said that, let's now project into the future and make a bunch of harsh calls. What should Marvel do if this movie has a worst case scenario fall off into weekend 2? If the movie becomes a disaster, if it doesn't even hit the 425 carat, which feels artificial, that they created for its success, what should Marvel do? What do they do with Sam Wilson? You know what I mean? Because look, at this point with Sam Wilson, like we just gotta be real. At this point with Sam Wilson, you have a pretty unspectacular comic book trial run. Sam Wilson as Cap, never really successful as a solo book. Some of the Avengers stuff with him does okay. But by and large, the Cap books went from selling like 40, 50, 60,000 a pop to like 20s with Sam. They brought Steve Rogers back in comics, literally, to inject the readership back up. It just doesn't work in comics. I don't know what to tell you. I don't read a lot of that shit. Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. But let's just face facts. If we're looking at the source material, Sam has not been successful in comics as Cap. You now look at the show and the movie. And again, I just went on this whole thing about how unlucky they got, and they did get unlucky. But ultimately, he has a show that's bad. He has a movie that's bad. And he might have a movie that's a bomb. We're not sure. And I think if we get into weekend 2 and it's a bomb, and his show was not good and it didn't do very well, and his comics aren't doing really well, well, Marvel needs to figure out what they're going to do with Sam. You know, what are you going to do with Sam Wilson as Captain America? Are you going to read the room at all? Are you just going to double down? Like, what's the plan? I think if you look at the history of Marvel Studios, you could probably see a couple scenarios of ways they could move forward with Sam and adjust based on the feedback that they are getting. So one example, and oh man, kind of sucks to even say this out of my mouth parts, but one example we can see is the Marvels. And man, at this point, I bet Sam Wilson is hoping he could get even half of what the Marvels got when it first entered into theaters between Infinity War and Endgame. But if you look at the Marvels compared to Captain Marvel, it was clear that Kevin and Marvel Studios realized that despite the success of the first movie, it didn't hit the way they wanted with fans. It wasn't turning Brie and Captain Marvel into a big time character the way that they wanted. They don't bring back the writers or the directors for the second one. And they decide to inject 2 other characters to make it more of an ensemble. You have Kamala Khan, you have Monica Rambeau, and then you have Danvers. And it's not even called Captain Marvel 2. It's called The Marvels. Okay? Now, look, that shit didn't work. That's the biggest bomb in the history of Hollywood. But it is still an example of how the studio seems to deal with potential problems with characters and popularity. And so what I'm saying is, I think Sam's going to have a future. I think he's going to be in Doomsday. I think he's probably going to be in Secret Wars in some capacity. And then I would imagine he will probably even remain as Captain America after Secret Wars. But if they do a Captain America 5, which is like, I don't even know if they should, right? But if they do, we could probably imagine it would be more of an ensemble thing. Which, to be fair, they even kind of do in Steve Rogers' Captain America movies. Captain America 1, even though I think it's awesome, it actually underperformed compared to Marvel's expectations. I think it's the lowest of the intro movies for Phase 1, too. And so Marvel themselves kind of shake it up with Steve. They put Black Widow in the movie. They got Nick Fury in the movie. You've got Bucky, Winter Soldier. They juice up his movie. And then they juiced up his third movie so much, it's friggin' Marvel Civil War. Literally. Tony versus Cap, right? So if they're going to do more with Sam, they probably need to sort of pad it. They need to bring in an entourage or other really popular Marvel characters. Like Spider-Man would have helped. I'm not going to lie. Spider-Man would have helped. Hulk would have helped. These characters. And then if they continue to do more past like a 5th Cap, you're probably going to need like Civil War 2 or Avengers versus X-Men. I think you can keep Cap around, even if this movie is a complete disaster, even if this thing completely bombs in weekend 2, I think you can still keep Mackie as Cap, but you need to make sure all of his scenes are really awesome. Probably can't do another Captain America anytime soon. And you need to see how audiences respond to him in the next couple of films. And the honest to God truth is, dude, like, they're about to shift into X-Men anyway. So I don't even know the next time we would get an Avengers movie. I think it's going to mostly be X-Men stuff. But you can still have Sam Wilson as Captain America of the Avengers. It's just they might not be a focus of the next few years of what Marvel's going to do from here. So that's kind of the TLDR of like what I think with Sam. But like, man, I don't know. It's a tough one. I feel bad for Mackie. I don't like hate Mackie. I think Mackie's like a cool dude, but honestly, like, I feel like he lacks aura. I feel like he lacks aura as Captain America. I feel like for whatever reason, Marvel can't figure out what to do with him. You know, they've kind of made him this real milquetoast, middle of the road, like we should all work together. He is the president kind of character, which, by the way, this is a good time to say, I made a whole ass video about how I would fix Captain America Brave New World. I'm going to drop that later today on the main channel. I think you will really like it. Even if you really like this movie, please watch the video I'm going to drop, because I think you'll see like, oh, damn, there's actually some really cool shit they could have done with this movie. And ironically, some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about in that video, I think was in the movie at one time, but Marvel removes it for various reasons. So watch that video later, because I disliked this movie so much that in my head, I had to like remake it to make it good. And so that's what that video will be about, you know, coming out later. But I say all that to say, like, bro, I really did not like this movie. Like, I really did not like this movie. But not so much that I'm like, get Sam out of here. Like, Sam's not Cap. Like, I'm not like rejecting it at all like that. I'm just more in the camp of like, bro, they fucked this up. And they're unlucky with Sam. They keep getting unlucky with Sam. And honestly, he just doesn't have that much aura. So if you're going to have him in scenes, like, you need to figure that out. You either need to build up his aura or put other characters in there that are more interesting. But if this second weekend is a disaster, Marvel's going to start thinking about this, because they have to. I mean, things are so on the razor's edge right now. Like, I don't know. Like, let me just say this. Let me just ask this. I want to look at the chat. I want to see how you guys are feeling about this. What's the vibes out there? Like, let's do a vibe check, man. Are y'all in this kind of state of like, hey, man, I'm really worried. Like, this is really bad. Like, we need change. We need to like figure something out. Or are you more like, oh, this stuff's all being overblown. It's going to be fine. You know, we've got good stuff coming, et cetera, et cetera. Because when I look out there online, I feel, unfortunately, that this movie has been so divisive and it's so unpopular with so many people that they need, to me, they need to consider this. And it feels like we're almost being dragged back into the very bottom parts of Phase 4. There were moments at the end of Phase 4 where it felt so hopeless. Things were so wild. And after San Diego last year, and Doom and Secret Wars and all that, and after Deadpool and Wolverine was really good, and after some of the rumors we heard about some of the other projects, like, I began to get optimistic and feel like we were pulling away from that. And unfortunately, I feel like Brave New World put us right back into that spot where we're all feeling really shaky. We're all really uncertain. And, you know, I haven't personally seen a ton of that, like, hey, Marvel is cooked, like, it's over. Like, I haven't seen a lot of that energy until this movie came out. And now I'm seeing it again, like, all over the place. And that's really bad. So basically, like, if this movie drags us to the depths of negativity and bad play, it's a bad place as a community, and it bombs, I mean, I feel like you need to adjust. And the good thing about Marvel is we know they do adjust. So they'll probably do exactly what I'm saying. They'll probably make it more ensemble. They'll probably not do a solo Cap movie with Sam anytime soon and just kind of utilize him with other characters and maybe build him up in the background. And maybe that's okay. I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like, I got to be honest. I feel like if they are going to fix Sam Wilson as Captain America at this point, it has to be done in the comics. I don't think it'll happen in the movies. I'm not saying this was like his one shot, because I still think he'll do cool stuff in Doomsday. But like here's the thing that's kind of, it's a tough conversation, right? But this is the reality. When Marvel was doing their phase 1 stuff, right? And when they were kicking off and they were doing the MCU, they were grabbing up some of the greatest characters of all time, characters that had tested or that had won the test of time. I mean, Captain America himself is created even before Stan Lee gets to Marvel. I forget the exact right. I know Jack Kirby was involved. Was it Simon? Somebody, not Walt, but maybe Lee. I forget who was the other person, and I'm sorry about that. But the point is, this character was even there before Walt Simonson, maybe. This was even before Stan Lee gets there. And he lasted the test of time all the way into the modern era. Right? And Captain America has a great backstory. It's a really interesting character. Like, he fought in World War II. He's a man out of time. He's a super soldier. There's all these really interesting, awesome aspects to that character. And after 60, 70 years in comics, when you then bring that to the screen, you're able to actually pull a character that has built-in intrigue, interest, and has a story that's so cool it has stood the test of time. Sam Wilson is not that character. Sam Wilson, although has been around since the 70s, as Captain America, is 10 years less than 15 years. So if they want to fix Sam as Cap, they need to do it in the comics. He needs his Bucky moment when Bucky comes back and it was crazy for Cap. He needs a Civil War moment, even though I think he's technically been a part of it. It just didn't go well. They probably need to fix Sam in comic books as Cap to then allow Marvel to have stuff that they could pull from to fix him in the MCU. And I don't know. So I unfortunately think, just to bring it full circle here, if this movie falls apart and it does not hit that 425, I think Sam Wilson gets pushed to the side. I feel like he gets put back in the back seat with Bucky, and I feel like other characters come to the forefront, mostly X-Men. And that's kind of a shame, but it is what it is. Okay, got a couple more points to make here. Then we're going to get into Q&A. I know there's a lot of conversation in the chat. I know people want to talk about a lot of things here. Okay, so I just got a couple more things to talk about, and then we'll get into Q&A. All right? What's up with Marvel, man? What is up with Marvel? What should they be doing? How should they be feeling? You know, so many people are like, dude, Marvel's cooked. Are you worried? This, that, second, and the third. Getting a lot of those sort of questions. I got to tell you, man, this kind of hurts. Like, it kind of hurts that we're here with Brave New World. It also kind of hurts that we knew we were probably going to be here. We've been kind of following this movie for like 3 years, and the whole time they were like, this shit is not that great. And then it came out and it has been received the way that it has. And it sucks. And I think that recency bias is a thing. And I think once something really, really bad happens, you can get caught up in the negativity and it can look really hopeless. And it almost feels like we just had a bad breakup, right? But there's plenty of opportunity out there, plenty of ways to meet new people, whatever the Miles Morales actor said when Haley got married. The point is, I don't think anything is truly fucked yet. But oh my God, Marvel has 2 to 3 years to actually turn this thing around. Otherwise, I think it potentially gets even worse getting into the Mutant Saga. At this point, it kind of feels like Endgame was 20 years ago. Isn't that crazy? That's what it feels like to me. That Endgame was 20 years ago. And it feels like the current state of Marvel and what we're going through, what we went through with Phase 4 and, you know, so far through Phase 5 feels completely different. And the vibe has flipped, man. People are now going in with their arms crossed. People are now not expecting all of these movies to be really fun and entertaining. People expect them to be stinkers. People just think Marvel has fallen off. Like, that's what the narrative is. And man, Brave New World, I think, is an example of, even when it's maybe not the worst ever, if you lean in that direction, the narrative takes over and it becomes the worst ever. Because here's the thing. It might not be the worst Marvel movie ever, but it has the worst cinema score of any MCU movie since the beginning of this whole thing. That's real. Like, you can't deny that. You cannot avoid that. So again, even if it's not objectively true, it's true because the people spoke. That's how they feel about it. So Marvel needs to realize, and this is, I think they realize this, but I just want to say it because I'm hoping to manifest it into reality or some shit. They've got 2 to 3 years to turn this around, man. And they need fire. Okay? Like, dude, tell you something that happened to me over the weekend. I saw that report. There's a report out from Daniel RPK. And he said something to the effect of Doomsday is delayed. Remember it was going to shoot next month? And we were all like, oh, shit, it's going to shoot next month? Well, apparently now it's April. And apparently now it's April because the scripts aren't ready. And normally, like, that's not, like, that big of a deal. It's whatever, right? But, bro, after Captain America Brave New World, oh, my God. I almost jumped out the window. Like, it feels like a tragedy. It feels like we're completely falling apart. And by the way, how do we only have 350 likes with over 1.1K viewers? That's crazy. Do me a favor, please like the video. So, I think Marvel needs to face facts, and they need to realize that literally, like, here's what I would say. If I were Feige, I would get everybody that's important and get them all in a room, huddle them up or something, and I would be like, guys, it's officially us versus the world. They officially are coming after us. We literally, it's enemies on all sides. We only have each other, and our only way out of this situation is banger after banger. That's what it is. Because that kind of is what it is. I mean, at this point, bro, they put out another mid-ass project, it will get fucking destroyed. It will be like Craven, you know? And then you'll have Sony CEOs, hopefully not Marvel CEOs and Marvel presidents, being like, it's snake bitten. We can't even make an MCU movie. Like, you do not want to get there. So you need to kind of take the philosophy, take the approach that everybody's against you, and you need to dial it up to 11. Whatever the movie is, knock 15 points off of it. That's how the world is viewing it via Rotten Tomatoes score or critical score. You don't have the benefit of shit anymore. You have the disadvantage of the baggage that you have created via Phase 4 and Phase 5. So that's what it is. Now, luckily for Marvel, I actually believe they do have the sauce. And I actually believe that Secret Wars and Doomsday and Spider-Man 4 and potentially World War Hulk or whatever that it's going to be, I think those movies will be bangers. I feel like they're going to be spectacle. I feel like they are character developed. I feel like they're story based. Even the Doom thing. And I know a lot of people are all over the place on the Doom thing. You know, we've got a lot of tension in the community about that. If what I think is happening, it's going to blow people away. And it's going to surprise people as to how interesting and character, like, actually first that whole idea and concept is. It's character first. It's story first. And I think that'll surprise people. It shouldn't surprise people if they remember back to the Russo brothers movies, those 4 films in that tenure. Absolutely incredible. But I think given where Marvel is at right now, the Doom thing feels like Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker. You know what I mean? For a lot of people, that's what it feels like. Break glass in case of emergency. Get Robert Downey Jr. back. Holy shit. And look, unfortunately, I think Brave New World kind of proves that, like, you need to just bring everybody back. It feels like Endgame was 20 years ago. People are checked out. People are not caring the same way. They're doing the right thing by bringing everybody back. RDJ, Hydra Cap, Natasha, all of them. Clint, all of them. Like, bring everybody back. I think Brave New World proves that that's a good move. But here's the difference. That will only work at first. It's only going to be a short, temporary bump in both attention and in box office revenue. If you can't follow through on that, make it good, make the audiences care, make them enjoy what they are seeing, it won't actually have the effect that you think it will have. It will actually bring even more negativity. So the next 2 to 3 years for Marvel, insanity, bro. Insanity. They've got the gas. They're cooking. Daredevil's like right around the corner. Thank God. Thunderbolts looks great. Fantastic Four looks great. And the rumors on FF are insane. And then you got Doomsday, Spider-Man 4, probably a World War Hulk movie, and then Secret Wars. Within that stretch, and we're talking about 6 different movies, potentially some shows too. Within that stretch of 6 movies, Marvel needs 4 or 5 of those to be bangers, and fans need to go nuts for them. Like, you need that Deadpool Wolverine energy. And if you do that for 4 to 5 of the next 6 movies, I actually believe we kind of fix all these problems. You kind of set the fans back to where we were just coming out of Endgame. Or we're going to go easier on stuff. We're going to be more enjoyed. We're going to be more apt to enjoy the different shows and the movies. And that would be key. That would be clutch for Marvel Studios. But unfortunately, man, even if they go half, this is just my prediction. But even if they go half, let's say they got 6 movies, right? Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Doomsday, Spider-Man 4, mystery movie, which we're pretty sure is World War Hulk, and then Secret Wars is the big kahuna. If they bat 500 on that, they're going to get shit on. Like, I'm just going to be real. If they bat 500 on the next 6 movies, meaning 3 of them are bangers, 3 of them are mid, oh my God, they are going to get shit on. They're going to get torched. And then that unfortunately will seep into the Mutant Saga. And then Marvel is doing X-Men after pissing their fans off for like 9 years straight. And I don't even know what they could do at that point to bring it back. I mean, holy, like that would just be worst case scenario. So I think, like, basically what I'm trying to say here is like, bro, Brave New World, this is really bad, Marvel. I think even Marvel's surprised at how bad this is going, and they're trying everything they can do to control the narrative and to make it, seem okay. But Marvel, the thing you need to realize is like, you're not going to be able to like hide your budget and give fake ass numbers to all these next 6 movies and make fans satisfied. That's not going to work. That's old school boomer Hollywood shit. It's not going to work. You need to deliver fucking bangers, bro. Bangers. Okay? You want to know what's a banger right now? Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is a fucking banger. You know how you can tell? You just look out online. Ridiculous levels of success. All the memes, the engagement, the way fans are engaging with that thing, man. Marvel Rivals is a fucking banger. You need your movies to feel like that. You need your movies to be cultural and pop cultural zeitgeist moments that feel awesome and incredible and are true spectacle. Luckily, they've got all the ingredients, baby. It's just a matter of like, how are they cooking that shit up? Could go really well, could go really poorly. This is a really bad spot for them to be in. I don't think anything is permanently fucked. I do think they have a way out of this, but holy, I think this movie really makes it starkly clear that if they don't go over 50% in these next 6 movies, I mean, it might actually be Jover at that point. Like, it might actually be, it'll never get back to where it was. It'll never feel like it anymore. And then maybe Marvel movies start hitting 3, 4, 5 as like their top end. And then they're basically Sony. They've become Sony at that point. The great Marvel Cinematic Universe that did like 23 billion in its first 10 years, almost averaged $1 billion in its like 6th, 7th year on. That franchise could become Sony Marvel franchise in the next 3 years if they fuck this up. So there's a lot on the line. I think it's a really interesting time. I am optimistic. I am optimistic about Marvel's chances. I'm optimistic about the content. I'm optimistic about what they have going on. But damn, did they really have to leave us all feeling like this because of Brave New World? Oh, shit. I don't know. Okay, last point, and then we'll just get into Q&A. I kind of wanted to talk about Daredevil and Secret Wars stuff, but I feel like I've yapped for so long that I have to address some of the questions you guys have. We got to get into the actual interactive part of the stream. So just one more point I want to make here, okay? Nobody else is making this point, by the way. Nobody else is making this point, but I think it's actually true. I am going to say that leaks and rumors really hurt Captain America Brave New World, but maybe not in the way that you would think. I think some people hear that and they're like, leaks and rumors ruined the film, and they'll think of like Multiverse of Madness, where all of these crazy rumors came out. When you went to actually see the movie, they were super dialed back and all the cameos felt weird, and so people were really disappointed. That's not what I mean. What I mean is we knew all the surprises and all of the juice that this movie had 3 years ago. I was making videos and doing streams, and I know because I looked back at some of them this weekend when I was just doing a little research. Man, we were talking about adamantium in this movie 3 years ago. We were talking about Red Hulk and Leader 3 years ago. Okay? And the problem is they didn't really juice this movie up. They didn't really change this movie. And for over 3 years, we knew exactly what it was. What were the upper limits? What were the lows? And honestly, when you look at Captain America Brave New World, I saw a tremendous lack of enthusiasm and hype going into it. And I think because this movie took so long to come out, because how many times did this movie get delayed? When was the original release date? I mean, literally, brother, we're talking about 3 years ago we knew what this movie was. You know, it's 22 days of reshoots were split up by an over 9-month-long writer's strike. It was delayed out of 2024 after being delayed in to 2024. And so there was just like the news cycle, the cycle that a lot of people like you and I that are really engaged with this shit, the cycle that we are on, Captain America Brave New World was dead in that news cycle for years. And then the only time it would really break into relevance within that news cycle again was when we heard from one of the insiders or scoopers that another negative test screening had happened and that they were doing additional photography. That's facts. So like for 3 years, no surprises. And then anytime it would actually blip on the radar of news was after a bad screening or more bad things were happening. And so for 3 years, we knew what this movie was. We knew it wasn't good. And then we had to go through the whole rigmarole. And then we saw it, and it was, in my opinion, exactly what we thought it was going to be. Everything we thought was going to be in there was in there. You know, obviously some stuff got cut and changed. But by and large, no real surprises, nothing interesting. And about the quality we had expected it to be for years. Brother, that's no way to hype up a movie. That is unfortunate. And you could blame the scoopers and the reporters and the insiders. And I think that there's some validity there. You know, I think the scoopers, especially about 3 years ago, I think the scoopers were going crazy. I think the scoopers were way out of control. In fact, some of the scoopers and I have even beefed about this. You know, Shine and myself, we had a whole beef about this because I was like, you're doing too much. You're literally just greedy. You just care about clout and money and, you know, selling fake, little mini scoops to your subscribers and shit like that. You're ruining the experience for fans. And we butted heads on that, went back and forth on stuff like that. But I think that's part of it. But the other part of it is like, Marvel didn't do shit for 3 years. Like, let's be real, man. You know, the big narrative out there right now from like the director and official people over at Marvel is like 22 days of reshoots. All the things you heard about reshoots was not true. It was just 22 days of reshoots. Just 22 days of reshoots. Well, here's a question. Why for 3 fucking years was I hearing that this movie sucked ass and y'all only did 22 days of reshoots? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, make it make sense. So you knew it was goobly glob? You knew you could make it better, but you only wanted to do the 22 days. You couldn't work outside of that? That's crazy to me. Like, it's crazy that the narrative in Marvel is insisting that they didn't really try as hard as we thought to make it better. So then what did you do for 3 years? Just sit there and look at really shitty dailies and be like, damn, probably should show more Red Hulk in the trailers. Like, that's kind of what it feels like, bro. And so, Holy shit. I think the leaks and the scoops did this movie no favors. I think it actually really affected it. It certainly affected the hype, but also like it feels like Marvel didn't do enough here. That's what it's ultimately kind of feeling like to me. Is so we basically knew all the major beats 3 years ago, all the exciting stuff 3 years ago, which equates to, by the way, adamantium being in the film being as interesting as when I first heard that adamantium was going to be in the movie 3 years ago. It's not utilized in the movie at all. It's just said as a new thing. Well, guess what? I knew that years ago when I heard the leaks. It didn't actually do anything for me. It doesn't move the needle. It's not cool. So, man, like, I don't know what the perfect answer is here for this, but this movie was so unlucky and had so many different things working against it, including the leaks and the scoops that just surrounded this thing for years, and then it ultimately came out the way that it did. So that's just like the last thing I wanted to talk about, because I do think when you look at this film, there was a lack of excitement, a lack of hype, and I really do feel that was because of the leaks and the rumor mill, and also partially because like Marvel wasn't actually really changing it then. I mean, there's all kinds of changes in this movie, but substantively, it hasn't actually changed. Like, do you know what I mean? And Marvel would probably agree with that. And they'd be like, yeah, we didn't really change it. We just tightened it up. 22 days of reshoots. And it's like, man, at some point, like, you got to look at this shit and be like, bro, people like don't like this thing. Like, people just don't like this thing. Maybe we need to really break it down. Maybe we need to do what we did with Daredevil. And we need to remake it, reconceive it. But they didn't do that. And the product suffered, in my opinion. Okay. So that's all the news out there. That's, as far as I can, as objectively as I can. Those are my thoughts on the movie and where Marvel is at. I want to say this, too. I understand that there are fans of the film. And I understand that there are people that really like the movie, and even people that maybe want to refute some of the things I talked about or some of the way that I covered things. And I just want to say that although I understand that, I actually am trying to be fair here. And if you're going to be one of those people that's just going to deny everything I just said and try to say that, like, it's the second highest opening Cap movie, it only needs 425, 22. If you're just going to parrot all of the studio talking points, like, I just can't take you seriously. You know, I love the fans. I love the Marvel fandom. But let's not do this Star Wars thing where shit's starting to suck really bad. Things are not going well. And we're going to get mad at people within our own community for just simply pointing out what is reality. Let's not do that. Let's not try to besmirch other people or project onto them any kind of a thing here, because we like the movie and we want to selectively look for all of the data points that support it not being a disaster. With that said, it's not currently a disaster yet, other than the CinemaScore. The CinemaScore is undeniably a disaster. Whether it manifests into really bad box office is yet to be determined. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to find out together. It's only a week away. Now, with all that said, let's break into Q&A. And as I always try to warn people that are watching or that are listening on the podcast, this is the portion of the show where I interact with chat and I see what messages they sent me. And this is always that time of the show where I may or may not get triggered and crash the fuck out. I'm going to try not to. But when you open yourself up to live commentary and feedback from fans, it can happen. Okay, let's get into it. First in today, Cantina Talks with a $5 holla. Really appreciate it, man. Says, The Last of Us called. They want their prosthetics back. I don't know what that means. I assume you're talking about the leader. Yeah, the leader looks awful, man. You know, I put it out on social media. There's footage. There's actual shots from Marvel. In fact, let me just show you. Let me just show you what this looks like. If you're on the podcast, you won't be able to see this as much. But you got to see this here. Look at what the leader looked like at one time. Okay, you got just check this out, man. Like, and I'm not saying this looks great. I mean, he's a big ass head dude or whatever here. But I mean, to me, This looks a lot better than whatever the hell they put in the movie. It feels like they left his prosthetics out in the sun between the reshoots, maybe for those like 90 days of the strikes, and then the prosthetics just like shriveled up and bubbled up, and then they were like, fuck it, we ball, and they made him look like that. But yeah, no, I really didn't like the look of the leader in the movie, that's for sure. Dr. Cool says, I haven't seen Cap 4 yet. How many times did the Red Hulk call? Jeez. Space Trick Serial TM says, yo, missed a couple of streams like a bad salmon, but made this one. So here's $5 to explain the lore on the big cruiser ships in 40K. Oh, I mean, look, they're you're talking about like the Ark. I forget what they're called. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Those like big, like cathedral looking like mega ships or whatever. What are these big ships called? Let me see here. I actually don't know a ton about these ships, other than the fact that I've definitely seen them in some of the video games, and they're obviously like the flagships or whatever. Yeah, there's a ton of these big ships. The Imperial Navy. I forget what they're called, but they look awesome, man. They have like those like nose or front ends that almost look like bulldozers. But even as I'm looking at it, there's like a ton of lore around them. Yeah, unfortunately, the Imperial Navy and a lot of that stuff, not my strongest knowledge base when it comes to Warhammer. John Cross says, yo, I just realized Josh is 0 for 2 for villains talking on the phone. First is the Riddler, and now the leader. Don't forget, though, guys, Cap 4 greater than Multiverse of Mid. First of all, how dare you? And, yeah, no, it is kind of weird. I mean, I thought the phone calls with the leader were absolutely terrible. I thought they were awful and annoying and weird. I mean, dude, I really don't like that movie, bro. And that part of it was whack. Space Trick Serial says, Invincible Season 3 is the best superhero content in years. Also, I said it once, I'll say it again. Mackie is the Rey Skywalker of the Caps. Oh, no. Chat, what do you think about that? Mackie, the Rey Skywalker of the Caps? How does that make you guys feel? And remember, I didn't say that. Remember, I didn't say that. Space Trek Serial said that. Joshua Campbell Bluegrass says, watch Civil War Sunday. Needed to go see a good movie for a change. Tony finding out how his mom died, driving him mad beyond reason is 100% a Doom thing. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I actually made a decision to not watch Civil War or Winter Soldier. I thought about it, but I decided not to because I kind of had this feeling that if I actually would have watched it, I would have got even more mad about Captain America. Because here's the thing, man. Like, a lot of y'all don't see it. A lot of y'all don't even appreciate this shit. But I am actually trying to not be toxic about this. I really don't like this movie, but I'm trying to just be as objective as possible. Kind of, just talk about the news, talk about where Marvel is at. I'm trying not to be doom and gloom here. But I really did not like this movie. Like, think about how much you think I didn't like the movie. It's even worse. Chris Listenfeld says, in honor of President's Day, who's your favorite U.S. president? Hashtag Den of No Politics. I'm actually a sucker for Georgie Washington. Big old sucker for George Washington. Did a lot of incredible stuff as president. A lot of incredible stuff as general. Also, in post-presidency, there was a moment where he comes back because after his presidency, I forget who was president, but like the country almost completely fell apart again. And he comes back and gives this crazy speech and like talks down all of these. I don't remember if they were like Federalists or whatever, but he talked down a bunch of people and got everybody to basically be like, fuck, well, if Washington is still riding for this thing, I'll ride for this thing. So Washington, good president. Chris Listenfeld. Oh, wait, no, that's your question. Sorry. Joshua says they should have kept the first leader design they had. Yeah, I just showed that design. I agree. I think that design is better, man. I think that design would have been cooler. And then Joshua follows up and says, the more I think about it, the more I don't like how Ross becomes Red Hulk. It's not like his story in the comics. Plus, he's supposed to be a smarter Hulk. Yeah, totally. I think that's fair. You'll have to watch the video I'm going to drop later today on how I would fix it. but Red Hulk is certainly something I would have done differently. And there are all kinds of ways that you could do that. In comics, when Red Hulk was introduced, for over a year, we didn't know who he was. So there was this big mystery of like, who's the Red Hulk, et cetera, et cetera. And then you find out it's Ross, and it's kind of like cool and interesting. The intelligentsia does create him too, which is kind of cool, and that is the leader. They take like some of the gamma from World War Hulk, if I remember correctly, and then they make Red Hulk using that. Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. I don't know. I don't know why they chose this route of like barely any Red Hulk, and then like it's just done. Like it just feels so weird. But yeah, definitely not the best. Locationary says, random question, but besides Daredevil, are MCU TV series still a thing? They are, but I think what you're really asking is like, are there any that I'm excited about in the same way I am for Daredevil? And the answer is no. Wonder Man, I have no idea what that show's about. Ironheart, nope, not interested. Sorry, don't give a fuck. The next thing that could be cool for me would be the Nova show, which is rumored, which, by the way, crazy rumors that Henry Cavill could end up being Richard Rider in Nova. Wouldn't that be nuts? But yeah, the Nova series seems really interesting. A Punisher series, which may or may not be set up during this first season of Daredevil. Punisher would be really cool. But yeah, there's tough stuff out there. Rossi, thank you for the rose. Christopher says, as a content creator, do you ever stress out about the possibility of getting canceled? You know, back in the day, I maybe thought about it more. I do think, you know, depending on, like, if you think about it, 2016, 2017, 2018 even, there was more like cancellation energy out there where like, even if you said like a couple words you weren't supposed to say, like it would have had a big impact, you know? And now, like, not so much. I mean, do I have any, like, skeletons in my closet or things that I'm, like, afraid of getting out? No. Am I kind of a wild dude and have some wild beliefs? Sure. But you know what's so funny about my beliefs is the truth is my beliefs are so out there and so much crazier than almost anybody else's that you almost can't cancel me for my beliefs because they're so goddamn ridiculous. So, like, as one example of this, a lot of people play this game of, like, left versus right, or, like, culture war this, or, like, you know, the libtards, or, like, the fascist Republicans, or whatever, right? Like, people play that game. I actually think both sides work for the aliens. So, to me, all of that's a facade. And the real thing is that the aliens are running the show and they actually control both parties. And we're all kind of like on a prison planet, spiritual tombs, fucking entities, realities, and we're all being controlled. Like, do you see what I mean? And it's like, can you really cancel me for that? I don't know. I guess you could try. Joshua Kemble says, Eternals deserves the lowest CinemaScore. You know what's wild, brother? Shit's so wild. I totally disagree with that. I like Eternals. I feel like Eternals doesn't deserve. I'll tell you this. Let me put it to you this way. Cap deserves to be in this bottom tier way more than Eternals, in my opinion. That's what I'm saying. Like, Cap, way more deserving to be down there than Eternals. That's the way I'll say it. Patrick says, with a $20 holla, that ain't cheap. Appreciate you, man. Says Brave New World is objectively better than a handful of MCU films. But the MCU has had so many duds since 2020 that the grace many fans gave it before is totally gone. Not to the level of Star Wars, but it's sliding in that way. Yeah, look, I actually agree with that. And I tried to sort of say it myself, maybe a little bit differently earlier on in the stream. But yeah, that's what I think so too, man. I don't think it's the worst MCU movie ever. That's Quantumania, you know? So yeah, I don't think it's the worst ever. I think it's better than a lot of other movies. I just think that's true. Like the vibe or the grace that people have given it, gone. And by the way, not coming back anytime soon. Marvel needs to think about that. Sakura says, I ran into Denny Ramirez at the theater last night. That's cool, man. Was he working there? I mean, I hate to say it, but probably the trajectory that shit's headed towards. Rossi says with a 5 spot, 6 out of 10 for me. This movie still isn't terrible as Love and Thunder. The scene where the leader shows his face for the first time, whole theater laughed. Yeah, pretty rough. I actually put Love and Thunder a little bit ahead of this movie. I know that sounds crazy, but that's where I'm at. I think Love and Thunder was a little bit better than this. I mean, I can't give it more than a 5 out of 10. And honestly, I really dislike this movie. I'm going to just say it, 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. 40% failed. I hate this movie. Vagabond of Light with a 5 spot says, is it just if it bleeds, it leads? Is it easier to dislike things and be negative? Like it's easier to report on negative news and crime? I think that is certainly a part of it, but you forget that Marvel, and it's funny because I've actually thought about like really breaking this down or like getting into the weeds and like putting this in a big, video. But the thing people forget is that Star Wars turned first, and a lot of like negative channels or culture war channels were killing it on Star Wars. And there was a moment before Endgame where a lot of those same channels, they tried to do that for Marvel. They successfully did it with Captain Marvel, but other than that, it was like Teflon. It wouldn't stick. And there were people within that community, and I know a lot of these people, because I'm a horrible, toxic person. I know a lot of these people. I know for a fact that within the communities of like anti-woke YouTubers before Endgame, there were a lot of people that actually loved Marvel and held it up as not Star Wars. Okay? So all I'm trying to say is like, you're right that there is negativity and that's a part of it. But that negativity's always been around. And it's always easier to get clicks and attention through negativity. And yet, Marvel was able to avoid it for so long, and then they were not. That is more interesting than to just say that it's just the negativity. Does that make sense? So you're just not complete. Like you have a good point. It's just not a complete picture. Mr. Jazz says, if you think Brave New World was bad, just wait until Doomsday is received the same way. I'm willing to bet on it. It will do well at the box office, though. Well, look, it's funny you said, because like here's the thing about Doomsday. It's going to make a lot of money. There's no way around it. It's going to make a lot of money. And Marvel will get a big boost of attention and box office. But if they don't also back that up with great content that fans really enjoy, I don't think it actually solves any problems. It's just a temporary reprieve from a lot of the bad things that are happening. So first of all, I don't agree that it's going to be bad, but I do agree that the success of that movie is not really what matters. What matters more is how do the fans and the wider normie audience, how do they feel about it? That's a big deal, man. Patrick says, do you think people will eventually have a better feeling about this film 5 years down the road when the breadcrumbs laid here finally pay off? I do not think so. I think if anything, it'll get much worse for this movie. And look, I'm not trying to shit on it totally because I know there are people in here that really like it. But I got to tell you this, man. I feel like this movie has the problem of pissing off equally people on the right and the left. And I think it's really ironic because I think the movie ripped out its own heart and sacrificed it at the altar of 4 quadrants. And a lot of the quadrants not feeling it. I feel like people on the left hate it because it's not brave, it's not bold, it doesn't say anything, there's no meaning, messaging, no heart. And I feel like people on the right are like, this is boring, lame, and floaty. So I personally think the movie will be looked on even worse in the future, especially if more of the actual information comes out and people are like, yeah, man, it could have been good, but they ripped it out because they were afraid. That's my opinion. We'll see. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Rossi, thank you for the gifted membership. Mav says, Marvel can't wait for that soft reboot in the X-Men phase. This seems like phase take your medicine and try to make it through. Can Doom save it all? Doom absolutely can save it all. I say that with 100% faith. Will that be what happens? I'm not sure. Can Doom? Absolutely. I mean, let me just tell you a couple things about Doom, baby. Let me tell you a couple things about Dr. Doom, baby. Dr. Doom is the man. Okay? Everybody fucking loves Dr. Doom. In comic books, when Dr. Doom shows up, you feel like you got your money's worth in that comic, which honestly you probably didn't. They're all way overpriced. But the point is, Doom, huge. Huge seller. Everybody loves Doom. Robert Downey Jr. I mean, if Robert Downey Jr. is maybe one of the best actors we've ever seen, I think. Top 10 for sure, maybe top 5. Absolutely incredible performer. Think about all the movies you've seen Robert Downey Jr. in. Did you have a good time? Did you find something in his performance that was moving? Of course you fucking did. Robert Downey Jr. Ridiculous. So you put those two things together, and you've got the sauce. On top of that, I think there's something they're cooking. You know, I think my theory is correct, or a version of my theory could be correct. So I think they actually have a story thing that's going to completely recontextualize how people even view the Infinity Saga. So they have all of the ingredients. How are they going to cook them up, though? How are they going to cook them up, though? We'll see. Watch Those Wrist Rockets says, what did you think of One World Under Doom? Hope you and the fam are all good. Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you. Yeah, we're good over here. One World Under Doom was cool. I wanted a little more, but a good start. Good start. I want to see where it goes next. I can also see a couple of things that Marvel could adapt in Doomsday or Spider-Man 4. Like, here's one little thing I'll throw at you, okay? I would not be surprised if in Spider-Man 4 we see Doom flags over Washington, D.C. I would not be surprised if in Spider-Man 4 we have it announced or shown that all the world leaders have submitted to Doom. And that's stuff that's in One World Under Doom. I would not be surprised if that is literally adapted in Spider-Man 4. I think that would be cool. Frostrodamus with 50 months says, hey, Josh, 50 motherfucking months. I think they should have Weapons Plus abduct Sam and forcefully inject him with super serum. Then get better writers. Yeah, dude, for sure. Thanks for 50 months, brother. That's a long time, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Get better writers, for sure. You should get the super soldier serum, stick Sam with it, stick your writers with it. Holy, yeah, let's get it. Mav says, you mean Mackie and his therapy superpower didn't land? Shocking. I actually like that aspect of the character, but it's used so sloppily and dumb, man. Oh, I hate this fucking movie. You're going to make me rage out. You're going to make me crash out. I really don't like this movie, and there's a lot of things they didn't do well. Thank you, Mav. Zach says, with a 10 spot, happy Monday, everyone. I'm working, so I haven't been able to watch, but I just wanted to know if Cap 4 was doing good at the box office. As I'm hearing, I'll watch after work. Much love, Nerdvengers for life. Look, here's the thing. It had a good opening weekend. You actually can't deny that. It had a good opening weekend. It's all going to be about weekend 2. And as I said earlier, as long as it doesn't completely collapse, the movie will be fine. Unfortunately, because of that CinemaScore, there is a strong possibility that it completely collapses. We're going to find out. And we're going to find out together. Rossi says, is Cap 4 as IS as other projects? I don't think so, but Marvel should be worried with the general fan base's response. Mid-movies will no longer cut it. I actually think that's super on point, Rossi. That might be the most coherent and best point you've ever put into a super chat. Good job. John Solo says, I think the Daredevil, Fantastic Four, and Thunderbolts will either make or break a lot of the fan base for a while, especially going into those Avengers movies. I agree with you, and I think Thunderbolts, and particularly Fantastic Four, it's really mostly about Fantastic Four. Yes, super big deal. Major impact on how the audience will feel going into Avengers, but I promise you, everybody's rolling up to Avengers Doomsday. Everybody's rolling up to Avengers Doomsday. Guaranteed $1 billion, probably guaranteed 1.5. But the difference is like how many people are showing up for Secret Wars? You know what I mean? How many people are going to show up for Spider-Man 4? How many people are really jazzed about Doomsday? Can Doomsday get to 2 billion, 2.5? Is it going to be a big hit? We're going to find out. Kaylin J says, Brave New World was like First Avenger. We finally have some direction on where the MCU is going. I think there are some ways that it's like First Avenger, but I mean, look, man, I just got to be real. I really don't like the movie. I don't think it can hold the First Avengers jockstrap, frankly. I think it is a goobly glob mess, but there are some things that are established and set up that can work into the future. And I think you're getting more of Sam either way. Just not working for me. The current version, not working for me. W. Meir says, Iron Man 3 should be rated lower than Cap 4. Even you're misremembering the Mandarin. Iron Man 3 should be very low. No way around it. Iron Man 3 should be very, very, very low. That's a bad movie. Brady Bloomer says, my girl and I watched Iron Man 1 and 2 this weekend. Wow, I love those movies, and I miss when they were coming out in theaters. Much love, Josh and the nerds. Nerd Vengers for life. Appreciate you, brother. Hell yeah, dude. Going back, man, it's kind of like rough when you think about how long ago it was that we were all actually going out into these movies and watching it. You know? Like, not to say that we're not now, but you know what I mean? Like, the OG Infinity Saga, it really does feel like it was 20 years ago. Holy. C-Dub says, I'm over the mind control stuff. It comes across as lazy writing at this point. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. Javier Mendez, thank you for the diamond, brother. Alex says, there is nothing that will take me out of a film faster than rough dialogue, and damn, did Brave New World have the absolute worst in the MCU. I tend to agree with you, man. I tend to agree with you. I think it is that bad. Fahad says, Cap 4 was a mid Disney Plus show at best. Josh, we are expecting Marvel to try to run up the stairs without falling. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I see what you're saying. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to fall. I just think it's also super obvious if you look at Phase 4, Phase 5, this movie, where Marvel is at. I mean, it's been crazy rough, bro. You know, like, and I think sometimes it's useful to get outside of the bubble and to talk to more casual audiences and to see what your casual friends are saying. And, you know, the place where almost all my casual friends are at is like, if I hear it's going to be fire, I will go see it in theaters. Otherwise, I'm good. That's where it's at. They're like, if it's fire, if it's something I should be hyped up for, I'm there. Otherwise, no problem. And they won't even really watch it on Disney Plus either. They're just like out, you know? And I think Marvel needs to understand that that's what's happening. W. Meir with a 10 spot says, I just can't pretend that Cap 4 is the first to be the worst MCU film. Iron Man 3 didn't like none of the Guardians movies. Ant-Man 2, 3, Marvel's, Captain Marvel, etc. Dude, totally get you, man. And I think that's fair. Like, it's fair to bring that up. I would just caution you from bringing it up sort of with the perspective that this new hate is invalid. You know what I mean? Because you kind of just can't get around that CinemaScore. Like, it's the lowest CinemaScore of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. CinemaScore, very, very good metric. Okay? Better than Rotten Tomatoes. Like, that's a really good data point that Cap 4 did really bad with. So you could, like, it's true. It's fair. There were stinkers before. You know, Phase 2 had dips. You know, Iron Man 2 is not even that great. There's a lot of dips. But you also cannot deny that, like, where we are at right now, this is not good. People are very, very, like, ready to hate. That's kind of what it feels like. People are just, like, ready to be mad and to hate. So I hear what you're saying. It's just like, I guess you just got to decide, like, what does it mean to you then? You know? Because, by the way, even if Marvel, let me just say this, too, and maybe you don't want to hear this or whatever, but this is the case. Even if Marvel completely falls apart, even if Doomsday is goobly glob and Tony Stark comes out, or Doom comes out and he says, I don't know, something to do with Tony Stark, I guess. And Spider-Man's like, Mr. Tony R. DJ Stark, sir, I don't know what to do. Can I have a bureau and go hang out with Zendaya? Even if it's like that, guess what? I'll still be here on Monday when we break it down. I'll still be here the following week. I'll probably ride this shit till the wheels come off. I'm just hoping that that's not like any fucking time soon. You know what I mean? So I'm a Marvel fan. I'm going to be riding. I'm going to go see these movies opening weekend for probably the rest of goddamn motherfucking time. I would just prefer that we make some adjustments so that we can have a better time with more people in the future. Is that fair? Patrick says, accounting for the ticket price inflation, Brave New World only out-earned first Avengers by 6.5 opening night, and FA didn't have a holiday weekend to boost numbers. Yep. I think that is a great point, Patrick, but we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to focus on that. It's already bad. It's already bad. We don't need to do that. We don't need to get the calculators out and do friggin' sine and cosine and shit. John Cross says, would you rather rewatch Cap 4 or Penguin? Oh, Penguin. Oh, Penguin. And you know what? I owe Penguin an apology. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm about to utter these words out of my mouth hole. I owe the Penguin an apology. Okay? After watching Captain America, Brave New Turd, I absolutely... The audio is duplicating? What? That might be you, brother. Might be on you. The audio is fine on my end. Yeah, I might have... yeah. C. Fisher says, Josh, you blasphemer for saying this movie is worse than Love and Thunder. This was at least as good as Multiverse Madness. It was a great date night movie. No, I'm not. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. And no, it's not. Appreciate you, though, C. Fisher. Thanks, brother. Much love. Wait, are you saying there is audio problems? Is there audio problems or not audio problems? The Bates Funny Fam says, what's better, Cap 4 or Thor 4? Thor 4 all day, bro. Give me squealing goats in my ear for 2.5 hours. Way better. John Bow 16 says, Marvel has an unlimited money glitch with Avengers and X-Men, etc. They could really fumble it all if they don't start making bangers again soon. Dude, facts. Facts, bro. Javier says, I think there are some limitations with how much Hulk or Red Hulk Marvel can show without Universal getting the distribution rights or something like that. Oh, well then don't advertise them as much. Vandolph the Black says, Disney needs to learn from Apple because shows such as Dark Matter Foundation for All Mankind, Sea, Silent Monarch are all bangers. How are they killing it and Disney can't do this? So here's what's so ironic about what you just said. Because I understand what you're saying, and as a fan of just good quality content and stories, I'm 100% certain that you feel that way. Here's the thing. Disney had like the top 3 grossing movies last year. Disney dwarfs what Apple does in their streaming service every year. Nobody watches the Apple shows. Apple TV is failing. So Disney's actually more successful with their programming than Apple is. But it is interesting because you do bring up some good points. I mean, those shows are really well done. I started watching Severance recently. And also, Fifi, what's up? I'll get to your chat in just a second. I started watching Severance. It's cool, man. It's really intriguing, really interesting. I like the choreography. I like the production value and all that, right? But, like, Apple TV's not successful, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, Severance isn't even doing Ted Lasso numbers. You know? So, I don't know. Maybe split the difference or something. Andrea says, you're canceled for not drinking the Biro on stream. Much love. And I'm still holding out hope for the rest of the year's projects. Nerd Ventures for Life, Ranch Ventures for Life, and Unity. Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. I'm hopeful for the rest of the year. It just sucks to have gone through. It sucks to be going through what we're currently going through when for years We kind of knew this is what we were going to go through. That's the thing that's really bugging me. And I'm trying not to like loop out on it because like I have ADHD. I tend to get really fixated on things and sometimes I'll loop on them. So like if I get stuck on the loop of like, I knew this shit was going to suck for 2 years and now it sucks ass. I can't believe it. Like I'm a freak out. Like that is terrible. And that's like a really bad cycle. So yeah, hopefully they can just figure it out. Logan Carly with a $50 holla. That is generous. And I think that's the top dono of the day so far. Appreciate you. Thank you. The Fantastic Four trailer looks more exciting and more cinematic to me. And Brave New World felt like the opposite when I watched it. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And thank you for the 10th super chat. That's very generous. I totally agree with that. I think fans felt the same way, dude. Like, man, it just sucks. It sucks. Like, why couldn't they have figured it out? I just keep like asking myself that. Like, why couldn't they have figured it out? You know? Is there just nothing to figure out? Is it just like a base level bad idea that was never going to be polished enough to be intriguing? I don't know. But Fantastic Four looks incredible. The Thunderbolts looks incredible. You know, Brave New World started to look really slick and fun. The marketing was crazy for that movie, but I didn't feel that way when I was watching the film at all. Holy. Thanks again, Logan. In the Pit says, I just keep singing to myself, the Russo's back and they're gonna save Marvel. Hell yeah. In these trying times, haven't seen Cap 4 yet, and I'm scared to. Ooh, dang. Hey, chat, if you are not going to go see Cap, or if you haven't seen it yet and you're really scared to, throw a 1 into the chat. I'm just curious. That's kind of interesting. Vagabond of Light says, thank you. It's worth big video on it, in my opinion. Good points. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Fuego says, Scoopers can ruin DD setting false expectations. Yeah, I think Scoopers should be way more chill and more careful with what they put out there. I think Alex Perez has actually shifted it quite a bit and he's doing a lot better. And I'm grateful that he's taken this route. And the other thing that's cool about this is the pivot to Doom and to Doomsday makes it so we're not going to have to go through 2 years of rumors and shit like we did with Brave New World. We're still trying to figure out what Doomsday is and they're about to film it. Right. So like, I like that a lot better. And as long as like the rumors, the leaks and the scoopers can just try not to give every big thing away, I think we're going to have a lot better experience with that one. You know, Elijah says at the end of the day, it's about entertainment. Why is Doom entertaining? I think Doom's one of the most entertaining characters in all of comics. I mean, first of all, the dude speaks in the third person with so much gravitas, it'll make your balls feel heavy. Like, that's Doom, man. And he says some of the coolest and the coldest lines that you've ever seen in comic books. And he speaks in the third person. He's like inherently fucking interesting. On top of that, he's Doctor Strange meets Iron Man. Technology and science together, the best of both worlds. I think his design is sick. I think his name is sick. Stan Lee gave him the power of diplomatic immunity. He's an actual leader of a sovereign nation, so he has to be treated differently than the way the Avengers or the Fantastic Four can treat any other villain. So I think Doom is, I mean, and this is why, by the way, Elijah, this question is why I got so excited about the pivot, because Kang has none of that shit. Even in comics, Kang was never that cool, never that interesting. And I'm talking about like the Kang, like comic book Kang. Man, he's got a couple cool stories here and there, but not really, bro. Like Doom is so much cooler, so much more interesting. Chris says a political thriller without politics and thrills. Yeah, that should have been the log line, dude. That should have been the log line of the movie. Oh man. Benjamin says those bureaus are calling your name. You talking about these bureaus right here? By the way, chat, Ben, member of the community, sent me 3 flavors of bureau. Should I try one of them? Should I try a bureau on stream? Which one should I try? Here, wait. Let's get through the questions, and then maybe I'll try one, okay? But that's a cool question, Elijah. I appreciate it. And let's see here. Big Nemesis says, seeing Cap for Friday and have low expectations, but looking forward to the fight scenes at least. Yeah, the action's cool. The fight scene is cool. Well, they're not warm, Kendall, because this room stays at like minus negative million degrees in here. So it's not hot in here. They're ice cold, as am I. Lady Boner says, what did you think of the Black Widow hallway fight scene? I thought this Black Widow was terrible, bro. Ruth or whatever? Who the fuck is this character? And why didn't they cut her out completely? Why do we need her in this film at all in any way, shape, or form? I got nothing against her, but she looks a little strange to me. She damn sure doesn't look like she's actually like physically imposing at all. She's like 5'2", looks like she weighs 100 pounds. Who is this person? And she just looks a little strange to me. I really didn't like that character. And I don't even remember the hallway scene, man. Fuck that character. Joshua says, are we renting out a theater for Doomsday or just Secret Wars? The plan was just Secret Wars, but maybe Doomsday too. Let's see. Let's wait and see. Captain Ziggit says, honestly, I think if this was one of the first movies of Phase 4, it would have been received better. That's fair. I like it personally, but 6 years, no Avengers team is an L. Yeah, that's fair. I think people would have gone easier on it earlier on, for sure. Fifi says, just saw Brave New World. It's not a great movie, and it's not a terrible movie. It's just okay. I feel it had so much potential to be good, and they just went through the motions. I think that's probably a good way to say it. They just went through the motions. I told everybody earlier, I have a video coming out later today about how I would fix Brave New World. There's 4 main things I would change, and I think it would have been a lot better. So, Fifi, I hope you check that out. But either way, I appreciate the support. It's always good to see you around here. And also, too, you probably already know this, but I found out who you are. Not like who you actually are, but like who you are on the internet. And I was like, damn, Fifi's famous. Anyway, Rossi says, yeah, I got a good take after 2 years, killing it. Hey, you're about on that Josh level of good takes. That's a good ratio. Nate Kenobi says, how about that Shield popcorn bucket, though? I didn't get that shit. I got the $15 one this time, man. I don't know. There's just something about it. Like the very expensive Hulk one was literally like Hulk standing over some big hole. And I was like, psh, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know about that shit, man. So I decided not to get it. I got the $15 one. It's cool. It's metal. It's got Red Hulk on it. It's that's fine for me. I watched. Wait. Hang on. Brooke Chen says, I watched Cap 4 yesterday and I liked it, but I respect your opinion. I respect your opinion too. Hey, frankly, I'm glad a lot of y'all like it way more than me. Because if y'all hated it as much as I did, holy, these would be tough chats, man. Ah, man. Marvel's lucky that that's the case too. Joshua says, are we renting a theater for Doomsday or just Secret Wars? I already answered that. We're going to see. Probably both. We'll see. Chillin says, Marvel had no choice in showing Red Hulk because of their deal with McDonald's, which they based the 2024 release date off of, so them toys were giving Red Hulk away anyway. Yeah, but here's the thing. It was reported before that even happened that Marvel was going to use a different strategy. I remember talking about this on stream. Marvel's going to use a different strategy, and they were going to put Red Hulk front and center at the marketing. That was before the McDonald's thing that, obviously, yes, McDonald's, that was revealed. But, brother, you cannot tell me that the fact that it got revealed in McDonald's then made them say, you know what? Red Hulk, all the commercials, all the fixtures, all of the big things we're going to do internationally, it's all Red Hulk because of fucking McDonald's, I guess McDonald's got us, so now let's go all in on Red Hulk. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a one-to-one. Chris says, Doom will save us all. God, I hope so. Joshua says, she looks like Don Knotts. I don't know what that means, but yes. Abe says, be a hero, try a bureau. Nerd Avengers for life. How's the fam? That's pretty clever, man. Appreciate you. Fam's good, man. We're doing well. Athena's grown up way too fast. She's lifting her head up. She's trying to walk around and stuff already. She's crazy. She's crazy, man. John Cross says, I mentioned the same thing about Ruth in my review. ScarJo and Pew Pew give the essence of women. This chick felt like a 12-year-old chick. Yeah, I mean, like, bro, I'm not trying to get rude. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go hard, but no thank you, basically. Like, no thank you, Ruth. No thank you. Logan says, I enjoyed Phase 4 and defended it more than most, but Phase 5 has been a disaster. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Loki 2 are the only project I've liked, and those both feel impactless in the saga. But Thunderbolts and F4 both look stronger from a filmmaking view than anything in years. That's true. Hopefully the ship turns. Yeah, totally, Logan. I appreciate you, man. And I think you're right. I mean, they look a lot better cinematically. Hopefully that can turn it. I really was probably like an early Phase 4 hater. Like, I kind of turned on it pretty quick. But I can't deny that, like, it hasn't exactly gotten better, you know? And I think you have a lot of baggage going from Phase 4 into Phase 5 and, you know, Kang and Quantum Mania, the Marvels. Like, dude, it's just, yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough. 100% it's been rough. Christian with a $20 holla, very generous, brother, says, Josh was right. Brave New World was worse than Love and Thunder, and that's an embarrassing achievement of new lows for the franchise. It's baffling that this incoherent nightmare made it into theaters. Genuinely feel bad for Mackie. Brother, that's where I'm at. Not everybody feels the same way, obviously, but that's where I'm at. Like, I think this thing's embarrassing. Like, I think it's an embarrassing mess of a movie. I can't believe that's the best they could do. Like, you know what I mean? But also, not everybody feels that way. A lot of people were chill with it. A lot of people even like it, dude. Like, we have people in our community that like it. A lot of people that are like, it's mid, but it's not as bad as you're saying or whatever. I haven't really seen too many people that, like, think it's, like, really great. But I think there's enough, like, I can see enough pushback to know that a lot of people enjoyed it way more than me, right? I mean, Ruth looks like Barney Fife from Andy Griffith. I'm not familiar with that, but also I totally agree with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know for sure. I don't know what you're saying there, brother, but you right. You right. I know that. I know that's right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, anything else we want to say? I'll chill with the chat for a little bit here. Anything else on your mind? It's the question and answer portion of the stream. And this might be the last time we go deep on Brave New World for a while. Is there anything else you would like to discuss? Please Google IR. What? Barney Fife from Andy Griffith? Should I? Barney Fife? Barney Fife. Oh my God, she does kind of look like him. Wow. Yeah, she does. Drink that Biro? Okay, I can drink a Biro. Which one should I try? Nah, Ruth looks like Willow, you goof. Look, I'm just saying she didn't look great. Okay, and I mean that in multiple ways. Number one, she didn't look like somebody I would want to spend a long evening with after a few drinks, you know? She also doesn't look physically imposing or like somebody that could beat anybody up. Right? So that's what I feel about it. Do you think with the soft reboot coming after Secret Wars, they would bring back Steve Rogers? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it, man. I mean, they are bringing back Steve Rogers, but not permanently. You know, like he's going to do a stint. He's going to help with Secret Wars. But I highly doubt we're going to go into like the X-Men saga and Steve Rogers is going to be back. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that could happen? Do you want that to happen? Ruth, I will carry the ring to Mordor. Jesus Christ. Holy. Philip says, what's going on with Tom Holland and Born Again? What I think is going on is you'll see Spider-Man on some TV screens in the show. Like perhaps they will explain that Peter's one of the vigilantes they're going after or something like that, and they'll have him on like a TV screen on the 6 o'clock news. But I do not think Tom Holland is going to be swinging through in the show. I would love for that to be, but I'm not sure. Yeah, you're right. That's Sabra right there. That's Sabra right there. Chris says with a 5 spot, giving Cap 4 some grace since it's technically still a Phase 4 movie. Give me some more of that copium. The editing of the film felt backwards. Yeah, it's pretty rough. And I think that's fair, man. I think that's fair. Like, it's not it very much feels like a Phase 4 movie, you know, and that's not great, in my opinion. So, yeah. Doom is so cool and powerful, he once fought Chuck Norris to a draw. Well, there you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. Can't do AVX without Cap. I know, right? I mean, I think they'll do AVX and maybe they'll just use Sam Wilson as Cap. Apocalypse, though, Josh? I know. I'm thinking about doing a big video about this. Like, because there is a lot of X-Men news that's kind of, you know, happening out there. I mean, look, I'm going to be real. I think we're about to get a ton of news this week because I think Marvel wants to leak stuff out and have us to stop talking about this movie. The Widow's height. She's 4'11" at 90 pounds. My 5'3" ass shouldn't feel like I would wreck her when watching the movie in the theater. Shouldn't be in the movie. I agree with you, Rossi. I agree with you. And also, think about it this way, Rossi. I think you could take out an MCU character. You could take out a freaking Black Widow. That's crazy. Good for you, brother. I mean, it's only like the Smeagol Black Widow, but still, you could do it. You could do it, bro. And you should feel good about that shit, bro. Josh, does everybody love Warhammer yet? No, but we're working on it. We're working on it. We're going to get them there. 100%. We're going to get them there. Okay, everybody. Hey, I really appreciate y'all. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support today. A lot of awesome chats, a lot of interaction, and I really appreciate it. So thank you. I hope you see where I'm coming from. Look, at the end of the day, I know it might not seem like it, but I really was trying to separate how much I dislike it from the coverage. You know, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to try to hate it or hide it, but I don't want it to feel like that's all I'm talking about. Or I'm just like, oh, man, oh, this movie, you know, like the whole time. Like, I was not trying to do that. So hopefully you guys understand that and can appreciate it. Look, I'll take a drink of one of these. What's this one? I don't want to do the IPA. Noon wheat. Okay, all right, let's give it a shot. Here we go. Wait, what? Malt beverage with natural flavors. Near beer contains less than 0.5% alcohol by volume. So, damn, you got to drink a lot of this shit if you're trying to get fucked up, huh? I mean, I know it's all about not drinking and stuff like that, but it's still got alcohol in it. You're still trying to catch a buzz. All right, let me see. Let me see. I'm going to be honest with you. That's fucking delicious, man. That's really good. God damn it! Tom Holland! I've been talking shit on Bureau since you announced it. I can't believe this tastes as good as it does. What the fuck? That's delicious. If only it had alcohol in it. I'd probably drink it more often. That's really good. Well done, Spider-Man. Well done. Hell yeah. All right. I think I missed a couple more chats. Hang on. We're all over the place today. Where's this at here? Let's see here. Post-credit scene would have been better as a long scene with the credits with Banner and the leader. Could have been more impactful with the characters. Oh, yeah, dude. That shit sucked. That post-credit scene was terrible. Cantina Talk says Rossi versus Ruth 2026. Oh, hell yeah, man. I'll be into that. Kyber Sith says, just want to say, Josh, I'm thankful for you and this community. Thanks for all the hard work and sacrifice you make for the nerds. Much love, man. Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you. Not everybody gets it. You know, some people think I'm just being out here being a butthole. Joshua says, I sent a pic to Discord too. Oh, jeez. Oh, no, the Bureau pic. How could you do me like that, brother? Oh, that's shredding on there. Logan says there's not a 0% chance Doomsday is good, but there's a 0% chance it's anywhere near Infinity War Endgame. That's the issue. The hype feels artificial. I got to tell you, I think there is a chance that it could happen. In fact, chat, let me ask you a question, because Logan, you got me thinking here, man. If there's no crazy news tomorrow, shut up and shake it, Jesus. If there's no crazy news tomorrow, should I just talk about how I actually do think that Doomsday has a chance to be as good as those other movies? Sire1 says, Josh completely stopped giving a fuck about Twitch over on Twitch. All right, well, look, I just looked over there. Now I'm good. I'm good on Twitch for a while now. Kyber Sith with a $20 holler says, shut up and shake it. Well, they can't see me shake it on the podcast. Here's the best I could do. That's all I got. That's all I got, man. I'm an old man. What do you want? All right, everybody. Much love. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here. We'll be back at it tomorrow, 11 a.m. We'll either be talking about some news or I'll be yapping about Doomsday. And either way, I appreciate it, man. Captain America Brave New World, first opening weekend. We'll see. Maybe it'll have really strong legs, man. Maybe it's all going to be okay. Maybe that CinemaScore was just a bunch of grumpy Josh-like motherfuckers out there on Friday night. We shall see. Either way, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is Everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Oh, man. You know, I'll say one thing for this whole downfall of the MCU. Like, what the fuck happened to the game I love, you know? One thing that it has forced out of me has been a little bit more of maturity, a little bit more of being balanced, a little bit better of being a content creator. You know, back in the day, after you know, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like, dude, I was not able to like hold back the toxicity. Like, when I really don't like something, like, bro, like, I get really toxic about it. And I have had to learn slowly over time how to not alienate people that like a thing that I really don't like. And so that's one kind of it's kind of interesting. Like, one thing out of this crazy time is that I have actually become a better, more balanced content creator. And I know some of you are like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? I hate you for how much you hate this movie. But trust me, it would have been way worse a couple of years ago. Trust me. So that's good, right? Little self-growth, you know? Little maturity. Hell yeah. Hey, that Bureau's not... this is pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Here, I'll do a little ASMR with you guys. Oh, hell yeah. And you know what? Again, I'm glad a lot of you guys like the movie. Maybe it'll have a decent second weekend. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. And either way, I think we're shifting into Daredevil. I think we're shifting into other stuff, man. It's you're going to get some scoops this week. I guarantee it. It's time. It is time. All right, everybody. Really appreciate you. Thanks for being here. I'll see you guys later tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Remember, open up your third eye and wash out your stinky, stinky butthole. It's so stinky. Get that shit out of here. Oh, Ross, you gonna make me turn the music down just so I say this? Because you're gonna get mad if not, because you put the $5 in there, and if I ignored it, I'll never hear the goddamn end of it. He says, I'll beat any MCU character verbally with my filibustering. I talk the hell out of them, the Ross and the thing. Yeah, if you keep sending in a super chats at the end of the stream, that's gonna get all the MCU characters. Are gonna be really fun.